In this lesson, we're going to learn how to rationalize the denominator of a fraction that contains a radical that's being added or subtracted to another term. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is pause and take your notes. All right, so the notes say that to rationalize the denominator of a fraction that contains a binomial with a radical in it, you need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate of the denominator right here. So if you can remember, the conjugate of our denominator is just this denominator, but with our operator changed to either an addition or subtraction. So if it's a subtraction, we're going to change it to an addition. In this example, we have an addition in the denominator, so we would change that one to a subtraction. So let's create our conjugate. Our conjugate is going to be 5 plus radical 2 over 5 plus radical 2. All right, so how do we go ahead and multiply this? Well, I'm going to put parentheses around this. As soon as I have two terms, I always put parentheses around so I don't get my terms mixed up. I'm going to take this and I'm going to distribute it across both terms here. So we have 3 times 5 is 15, and we have our radical 2. And then we have 3 times 1 is 3. Radical 2 times radical 2 is radical 4. Okay, so now let's go ahead and FOIL the bottom. Our first term, 5 times 5 is 25. Outside terms, plus 5 times radical 2. Inside terms, minus 5 radical 2. And then last terms, a minus times a plus is a minus radical 4. Our radicals here again are the same, so we can multiply what's underneath. And then the last thing to do is just simplify. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. So we end up with 15 radical 2 plus 6 on top. And on the bottom, we end up with these cancel. Radical 4 is just 2. So 25 minus 2 is a 23. We could factor the top if we wanted to. We can take out of the 15 and the 6, we can take a 3. And we're left with 5 radical 2 plus 2 over 23. But our fractions, our numbers will not cancel, so we could have left it either way. This way right here or this way right here. So let's go ahead and rationalize the denominator of this fraction. Our conjugate now is going to be our denominator, but with our operator changed. So it's 3 radical 2 minus radical 6 over 3 radical 2 minus radical 6. So again, I'm going to put parentheses because I'm going to have to distribute. So let's work on our numerator first. Let's go ahead and FOIL. We have a binomial times a binomial, so we FOIL. 2 times 3 is 6, and we still have a radical 2. Let's do our outside terms. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 radical 6. When we do radical 6 times 3 radical 2, our numbers when we multiply are just 3, so we have a positive 3 on the outside. Radical 6 times radical 2 is radical 12. And then when we multiply radical 6 times negative radical 6, we're going to get a negative radical 36. On the bottom, let's go ahead and FOIL. 3 times 3 is 9. Radical 2 times radical 2 is radical 4. Let's do our outside terms. If we multiply those, we get a negative 3 radical 12. Our inside terms, 3 times a positive 1 is on the outside, so we get a positive 3. We can multiply the numbers under our radical signs because they have the same index, so we get a radical 12. And let's do our outside terms. Positive 1 times a negative 1 is a negative 1. 6 times 6 is 36, so it's radical 36. So let's go ahead and simplify the top. 6 radical 2 is as simple as that gets. 2 radical 6 is as simple as that gets. But we can reduce this radical. This is 4 times 3, and 4 breaks up into 2 times 2. We have a nice group of 2 here. We'll pull a 2 out. 2 times 3 is 6. And we have a 3 left under our square root. And we can simplify this as well. The square root of 36 is just 6. Let's go ahead and work on the bottom. The square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 9 is 18. Negative 3 radical 12 plus 3 radical 12, they cancel out. And then we have radical 36, which is just 6. So let's take a look at the top. Can we cancel anything out? What can we pull out? We have no radicals that are the same. That's a radical 3, radical 6, and a radical 2. But we might be able to factor something out of all of our numbers. So let's take a look at all of our numbers. And do they have a common factor? And they do. 2 is a common factor. So let's go ahead and factor a 2 out. We're left with 3 radical 2 minus radical 6 plus 3 radical 3 minus 3. On the bottom, we have 18 minus 6 is 12. So when we reduce these numbers, we get a 6 on the bottom. So our answer is 3 radical 2 minus radical 6 plus 3 radical 3 minus 3 all over 6.